Now, the ugly state of electricity supply in the country is not going down well with the Socio-Economic Right and Accountability Project. It's questioning the whereabouts of 11 trillion naira meant to provide regular electricity supply in Nigeria since 1999. CRAP is asking President Muhammad Buhari to direct the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami and appropriate anti-corruption agencies to thoroughly investigate the alleged disappearance of the fund. Deputy Director of CRAP, Kolawole Oluwadare, in a statement asked the President to refer to the International Criminal Court all unimplemented reports of the corruption in the electricity sector and to arrest and surrender those named in the reports to the Court of Prosecution. CRAP believes an investigation into the allegations of missing funds and the prosecution of suspected perpetrators would end the culture of impunity and address the persistent collapse of the country's electricity grid. Let's turn our attention now to the fight against drug trafficking. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has arrested a 52-year-old father of 4 children for the crime. The man, who claims to be a businessman, who was arrested with 20.75 kilograms of black liquid cocaine at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, by operatives of the agency. Mr. Okeke came on a Qatar Airways flight from Qatar. A liquid was discovered in his luggage, stuffed with 6 smaller bags containing 32 makeup mascara, which tested positive to cocaine. In other operations, different quantities of various drugs were recovered from suspects. At least 3 persons were arrested in Kaduna on Friday with 18,380 tablets of Tramadol and 12,500 tablets of Diazepam and Exol-5 tablets. In Anambra, NDLEA operatives also intercepted a bus heading to Abia in Abia State from Onitsha with 7.5 jumbo sacks of cannabis. Now to other matters. The Women Interfaith Council, made up of Muslim, Christian women and women across all professions, are calling for an improvement in the representation of women in decision-making positions. They're also encouraging all women to organize themselves and get more active politically. They made a call as they converged on Kaduna to pray for the socio-economic stability of the nation in the face of contemporary challenges. Lipiaso reports.
It's a prayer session by members of the Interfaith Forum of Muslim and Christian Women. And from various parts of the country, they converge on Kaduna for this year's prayer summit. With one voice, they are seeking God's divine intervention in the face of the socio-economic and security challenges bedeviling the nation.
Today again, in the presence of God, united in heart, we call on the Almighty to be merciful to us. Grant us repentant hearts. Cleanse our land. Restore peace in our country. And guide our leaders aright.
You will agree with me that this nation is in a critical stage. A lot of things are wrong, from the economy to the lives of citizens, and so many things. If as humans we cannot push it in physical nature, we have to resort back to our Creator through prayers.
As far as I'm concerned, we're human beings, and we must come together to actually look at our issues, because our issues are more than our sentiments. So I believe that this forum has provided that platform for us to share experiences.
But beyond the prayers, the women are encouraging themselves to get more active politically. They're also demanding for an improvement in the representation of women in decision-making positions at all levels.
I stand here not too happy to say I'm the only female legislator in Kaduna State, the only female legislator in the entire Northwest Zone that comprises 7 states. From the national, that is the Red Chamber, the Senate, the Green Chamber, the House of Representatives, to the states. So women, I want to encourage us. Since they did not agree giving us the special seats, then we have to come out.
All done.
Women who have led the advocacy for other women's rights are identified and given awards.
Ever since
they say for the society to be balanced, gender parity in politics is a target that must be achieved. Lupe Asom, TVC News.
Now, World Down Syndrome Day is marked each year on the 21st day of March. This date was selected to signify the uniqueness of the triplication of the 21st chromosome, which causes the disorder. The World Down Syndrome Day is observed to create awareness about the syndrome. Down syndrome causes a distinct facial appearance, intellectual disability, and developmental delays. It may be associated with thyroid or heart disease. Doctors say early intervention programs with a team of therapists and special educators who can treat each child's specific situation were very helpful in managing Down syndrome. Now let's talk this through by speaking with a Down syndrome advocate, Biobara Yinkere, who is joining me on the news. Thank you so much for joining us on the news this time.
Okay, so we have to stop there because it's the wrong name completely. So my name is Tonye Falogi AKZ. It's not your fault.
Oh, makes sense, makes sense. Thank you very
So thank you for having me on this show.
Yeah, so let's begin to talk about the theme for this year's Down Syndrome's Day. What does inclusion mean for those who have Down syndrome?
Well, inclusion can mean so many different things. We think of inclusion in education, right? And you talked about in your intro the early intervention. And inclusion during the early intervention years are key. Early intervention years are from 0 to 6. Right. So that means not just children attending school, but attending school with neurotypical children. So they get that social interaction. So they can also improve by watching students that are neurotypical and do things faster than they do. Right. But inclusion just also means in life, right? So for me, I have a lot of issues with media and communications, right? Campaigns. We don't see anybody with disabilities, we don't see anybody with special needs, we don't see anybody with Down syndrome here. Brands are posting today wearing their different socks, but they're not including people with Down syndrome in their advertising. But you can promote today, but you're not actually doing anything in the inclusion conversation.
So if you're talking about the inclusion, you know, we talk about recently, you know, oftentimes we say 35% affirmative action for the women folks, you know, in political matters. Does this also involve the Down syndrome people?
It must, because it's about perception, not their capabilities. They're capable because you do the work, just like with any child, you train them. They need training to go to school, you work, you have lesson teachers, you have your therapists. Yes, they take longer to learn, but you also train them in vocational skills. And people with Down syndrome are very good workers. They like to be responsible, they like to work. If you go to abroad, there's cafes run by people with Down syndrome, right? There's now a Victoria's Secret model with Down syndrome. There's a whole agency dedicated to representing people with disabilities, including those with Down syndrome. But we don't really have that here. And I think part of the issue and difficulties in inclusion is that people still are prejudiced because they're not really aware. And I don't think it's wickedness or anything like that, even though some people are like that. It's just they don't see it. But if we're able to see it, then on a foundational level, it's entering our home. And we can understand that, okay, they're just like us. Yeah. You know, they might. Everybody has their unique quirks.
Yeah, very quickly. I saw that you're there with the book, which is. But I want you to answer this question in relation to this book. To because a lot of people always see Down syndrome because of their physical features.
Yes.
They feel whether it does affect their intellectual development. Does it?
It does. So it does affect their intellectual development. Let me use my daughter as an example. She's extremely intelligent. But she takes longer to learn things. So she's 6 years old. She's with her classmates in neurotypical school. We prefer the Montessori system because it's just better for people with Down syndrome. But we do a lot of work outside of school to make sure she can keep up. So it's not only about attending and putting those things in front of them. You have to do the work behind the scenes. So the hard work we're doing now is because we want people with Down syndrome to be independent and be able to work and have families and hold down jobs and live a normal life as a grown-up. And they can.
So what does this do?
So part of my journey is that these characters based on my children. Ugo and Simsim, it's called Ugo and Simsim. It's actually the first book series, so there's more than one book worldwide to feature a black main character with Down syndrome. And it's just, Down syndrome is just a factor in our lives, but I specifically focused on children because they're the next generation, right? They're going to grow up. And so if we can implement now in their minds about empathy, about kindness, about acceptance, compassion, and kindness goes a long way, then they will do better than we have going forward.
Well, I believe that in this current time that we continue to talk about Down syndrome, you know, people who have Down syndrome here on, you know, we talk about it year in, year out.
Yes.
That will bring it to the consciousness of people to relate with them properly. This is quite very colorful and lovely. So we'll say thank you so much for coming on the news. Down syndrome's advocate.
Thank you.
Tonye Faloge Ekeze. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Apologies for the other time.